Perfect.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Nico Meyering, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white man with blonde hair. I'm wearing a black headset, large brown and blue spectacles, and a green flannel shirt. I'm seated against a purple wall and some bookcases. And like about 25% of the US population, I'm disabled. Non-disabled people might see our lives as tragic or sad or pitiful, but I don't know, guys. I've been disabled a pretty long time, and I think there's also room for disabled joy. However, the disability community has as many members as it has opinions, which is why I've asked my friend Isaac here with me today to talk about disabled joy. Hi, Isaac. Thank you for joining.
Hello, and thanks for having me to being able to talk about the joyness of being disabled.
Of course, of course. Isaac, can you share with us a joyful memory that you have? It could do with your disability, or it could be completely separate.
A joyful memory. So I've had a lot through my time with disability. So for the viewers, Isaac, I was born with a disability called limb pelvic hypoplasia, which means I have no arms and short legs. I have a weak pelvis, so I'm not able to walk. I have scoliosis, which is the curvature of the spine, and I also have reflux, which is acid in my stomach. So a lot of different obstacles, but it's been one of my biggest strengths with the people around me who have always encouraged me to always be the best version of myself. And that's something I really do appreciate. And it's allowed me to have a voice in the community and be able to share stories of my life, both joyful and constructive. But one joyful one, I would say this year was getting to go skiing in Colorado. And it was so I've done skiing before, but what made this more joyful is that I was able to use a foot control going down the mountain, all electronic and independently skiing, because usually someone would control it from behind. But this time I was able to do it myself, and it was like one of the coolest and joyfulest things I've ever done.
That does sound very cool. Thank you. I've actually never been to Colorado and I've never gone skiing, so
Okay.
I'm gonna have to give that a shot.
Yeah. Oh, it's great fun.
Fantastic. So, how have your disabilities or your diagnoses impacted or intersected with how you pursue your own joy or to pursue your own happiness?
It's definitely come with its challenges because when I was younger, here in London where I'm from, um, the transport system wasn't always as accessible. So for the first part of the years, I had to use I had to use taxis to get everywhere. Couldn't use public transport because there were steps onto the bus, the train stations there weren't many lifts because I'm a wheelchair user. So, for the first part, I was kind of felt quite excluded from society. Um, but as time's gone on, things have made it more accessible. There's been a lot more voices in the community. And, I've really ch struggled and learned a lot about my mental health through this journey. And that kind of blocked me from all the amazing things I have been able to do because of my disability. Um, for example, I held the Olympic torch for the 2012 Games. I've done tall ship sailing. I've gone skydiving. I've done a lot of really cool things, and I think that's because of my disability. And it's also, it's why I get to connect with people like yourself, where we can, share the joy together. It's just, yeah, it's really great just being able to say because of my disability, I've had all these great opportunities.
Yeah. Um, that's one thing that I've seen in doing a lot of these interviews myself is that people talk about being part of a community and having people to celebrate with or to commiserate with, as the case may be.
Mm.
And that is very powerful. I see
Yes.
you in that definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Isaac, it sounds like you had a pretty long list of experiences within our community. So this next question might be a bit difficult, and that is to pick just one thing that you want the general public, the rest of the world, to know about disability and about disabled quality of life.
Well, so I've had a disability since day one.
Yeah.
And you know, the honest truth is it's just like human life. It has its ups and downs. And it's one of those things where every day is a learning day. I used to see bad situations as really terrible and oh, what's the point carrying on? But there's a lot we can learn from each day. And I feel with disability, it's really allowed me to be a bit more grateful about life and let me have a different perspective on things and how things can be improved for a lot of people. And also, you know, with disability, I've learned so much from the community, just being on LinkedIn and the importance of web accessibility and how, you know, accessibility is not just a ramp outside the door. It's the whole going through the whole building. So I think yeah, disability for me is a big learning experience and it's one worth doing. And it's also allowing me to help future-proof the world because you know anyone can get a disability at any given time due to an accident or a health condition, or becoming elderly. So you know, there's a lot that can be learned from disability, and it's something I've really treasured.
Isaac, I love that answer. Thank you so much. Yeah, disability has been a learning experience for me as well, especially as I've gotten to know other disabled people, kind of what they face, what their daily lives are like, and I feel very lucky to be able to have those experiences and make those connections. So
Absolutely.
I definitely feel you in that. All right, Isaac, my last planned question is one
Okay.
that I ask all my interviewees, regardless of project. And that is there a recent win that you're celebrating that we could help elevate for you? Or if not, what cool things are you involved in? Have you got any projects going on? Where can people find you online? I know you mentioned LinkedIn. So this is really your chance to be your own cheerleader, promote yourself, brag a bit, so, go all out. We're all ears.
It's I find it difficult bragging about myself sometimes. Um, but yeah, it's I think so. One thing I've been involved in recently is modeling and adaptive clothing. Something I never thought I'd ever get into because I was one of those people who mocked the fashion industry. I didn't really understand it. I always saw the same people going up the catwalk or wearing ridiculous outfits. I thought fashion's not for me. But when I was introduced to it through a fashion brand called Unhidden, and adaptive clothing, that was the first time I'd heard of adaptive clothing. Because when it comes to clothing, my mum used to just make my clothes fit. So I just didn't really think of adaptive clothing until I was given an opportunity to model it. And when I got to wear it, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, why it's so important and how much more it's needed for a lot of individuals. And with that, I've been able to walk London Fashion Week. And from that, about a month ago, in March, I think it was, or April, I found that I was in British Vogue, which is never thought I'd ever get into that, especially as someone, like I said, didn't really fancy the fashion industry, but I think that's not a huge win for me, but for the community that we are really stepping in a direction of inclusion and representing those who may not be represented, and also inspiring the the younger generation and other people with disabilities that anything's possible if you put your mind to it, and things are becoming more inclusive for everybody. So that was a huge win for the community. And for the stuff, if for me, if you want to follow me, I mainly post on LinkedIn, Isaac Harvey MBE. I'm part of a group called Wheels on Wheelchairs, where roller skaters push wheelchair users. We do that around London on a weekly basis. And also I'm a video editor, and I've been doing that for the past over 10 years now. And I just, yeah, just part of the community, and love to connect and do as much as I can, without overdoing it, because I've got to look after my own sanity.
Isaac Harvey lives in London, and he is a skier, a skydiver, a model, and a magazine cover subject. Isaac, thank you so much for joining me. Your life sounds very exciting. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Audience, tune in next time, and remember, I'm rooting for you.